Hi everybody, thanks again for joining us this week for another live broadcast. If you could do the usual, I can see the familiar faces there in the chat room. If you could just do the usual and let me know that you can hear everything coming through fine and see the countdown, that would be a great help. That's great. Thanks so much for letting me know it's all coming through fine. Really looking forward to this one this evening. Something very special, and my hat's off to Nigel for doing this, because you'll get to know as we go through this why I say that he is incredibly brave to do this. But we're in for a treat. We're in for something very, very honest, and you're going to meet one of my great friends, Nigel Thomas. Alrighty, you should hear me, and hopefully you should now see me. So thank you for joining me again this week for another live broadcast. I guess really what I should do is apologise for last week. It was all very, very last minute. Obviously, we're due to have Nick Page on last week, but it got very, very last minute when Nick got in touch with me to let me know that he had something kind of really personal come up with to do with the family and what have you. So I couldn't force him to do it. He did say, do you really need me, or is it okay to go and do this? And listen, folks don't do this for payment. They're doing it purely out of the goodness of their heart and giving up their time for all of us. So clearly I said to Nick, we can reschedule it. So Nick will be back with us on the 28th. So I apologise for not getting that out to you sooner, but it was nice to have people messaging saying, is there not a live tonight? It's good to know that people were waiting. But tonight we're in for a treat. We really, really are going to get to meet a guy that I've only known for a few weeks, but I can honestly say he's one of my closest friends, an incredible, incredible man with just the most amazing story. And we're going to get to kind of know more about that. And I want to encourage you as we're going through this evening, because it is going to be quite different, the first part of what we're going to go through. I encourage you to use the chat room, not just for comments and questions, but also any kind of thoughts that come into your head, any kind of messages of support or anything like that that you want to post out. Get them in the chat. Let's really make use of that chat this evening. But let me do the usual. Let's go through the admin side of things first of all. A few things to let you know about. The first one, I did mention this one last week. I've got a webinar coming up on the 11th. Is the 11th Thursday? I think it's Thursday this coming week. It's a webinar that I'm doing hosted by Calibrite, and I'm going to be going through my Lightroom portrait retouching workflow, my new workflow, and I'm going to be going through an entire retouching process from start to finish only using Lightroom. It's a free webinar. You can just register for it using that link there. It's at 6 p.m. UK time. Now, I appreciate not everybody, depending on where you are in the world, will be able to watch it live. But if you just register for it and you don't watch it, you're still going to get a link to it 24 hours later once it's finished, so that you can then watch the recording at any time. So you can watch it again or watch it for the first time, entirely up to you. The other thing to let you know about is that I was very unfortunate then. I was very fortunate to be asked to be on the Photography and Video Show's official podcast this week, and I was interviewed by the host, good friend of mine called David McClelland. You might recognise his face there. He's on the TV quite a lot on BBC One Show and Rip Off Britain and a few other programmes like that, the Gadget Show and stuff. He asked me to be on there to talk about the recent interesting time that Adobe have had with their terms of service, the subscriptions thing, where there's that lawsuit going on in the USA, and also to talk about my 39 to 45 portraits project. So if you've not heard that, take a listen, because believe me, I did a lot of research because I was expecting to be asked quite a few questions about it. And I did a lot of research. And what was very interesting to me, without me giving a bit of a spoiler here, is that all these kind of other competitive softwares that people are using out there, aside from Adobe, people that, saying, I'm jumping from Adobe to go and use this software. It's very interesting reading when you go and look at their terms of service to find that they are identical. But I'll leave that just so that you can have a listen to it. The other thing to let you know about, and this actually does deserve one of these, because this has been 2 years in the making pretty much, but I'm proud to say that very, very soon, in fact, let's just do another one of those. Here we go. On the 30th of August, 2024, I'm very proud to say, or very happy to say, that my printing course that I've been talking about for a long time will be available. So it'll be fully available. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't get it finished until this particular point, because had I released it 2 years ago, it wouldn't have the content it's got in today. And I wouldn't know what I know today. So I'll be able to get all that. I've got all that in for you. So it's a full course. And there's even more I'm going to be recording to add into it before then. But it is available from the 30th. And to let you know as well, this will be the first time ever that I do a pre-order for a course. The pre-order will be up from Friday next week. And the special thing about the pre-order is that I'm doing, again, never done this before, is the price it's available at on the pre-order, it will never be available for again. So even when there's a sale or anything like that, that pre-order price will always be the lowest that it has ever been or ever will be. So if you're part of my newsletter group, you'll be told all about that. If you're not part of the newsletter group, why not? You can just sign up from the homepage on my website. I don't spam you, but you'll get to know more about it. But that's exciting for me. Friday next week, the pre-order. Friday, the 30th of August, we've got the course being released. But that's all the admin aside. Now that I want to talk to you about my friend Nigel, what can I say about my friend Nigel? Well, what I will say is that there are some people you meet in life that you instantly connect with. You feel like you've kind of known them all your life. In reality, like I said, it's just a matter of weeks. And that's exactly how it is with me and Nigel. Regular viewers to this live broadcast will know that recently I was asked to open Nigel's very first exhibition. In fact, I've got a little picture there just to show you. And you'll understand why when I say this, and also when you hear Nigel's story, that for him to do that is incredibly brave. Nigel's story is real, it's powerful, and believe me, it's emotional. It's a story of being emotionally in a very dark place, at times thinking there is only one way out. But it's also a story of courage, of love, of family, and of friendship. It's so good to see so many lovely comments already coming in there from people that have clearly already met Nigel in the past. So let's waste no more time. Let me unmute him. So hopefully the technicals are working there. I can see that's now unmuted. And let's bring him in. So Nigel, can you hear me?
I can hear you clear, Glenn. Good evening to you, and good evening to all your viewers and some friends there. I'm not going to answer the comments because I'll probably hang up or something in mistake, but thank you all for your lovely comments. Great to be here with you, Glenn.
It really is. And obviously we've only known each other a short time, but like I said before I showed your kind of your promo, which I hope you like, it's just sometimes you meet people that you do just instantly connect with, and that's how it feels with me. And I think I could speak for Anthony as well, who's in the chat, our friend Anthony, who also came along with me when we saw your exhibition for the first time. The three of us just kind of hit it off. And it's lovely when that happens. So, and having seen, having been at your exhibition and heard just a snippet of your story, when I asked you, would you be on here, it was kind of like a will he, won't he? I'd understand if he said no at the moment, but you said yes, hence why we're here. So it's a huge thank you from me, mate. It really is.
Well, also, Glenn, after what you've done for me, there's no way I could have said no. I am very anxious coming on a live channel, but like you say, it's just me and you having a chat. Yeah,
absolutely it is. And listen, I know all about anxious. I've told you, and you can bear witness to this because literally 5 minutes before we started, I went back off to the toilet yet again for a nervous wee. Listen, every single week it's the same. So you're not alone when it comes to being nervous, mate. You're really not. But listen, we're going to cover quite a bit tonight. You obviously saw and you agreed to me putting that little content warning there because your story is real. It's real, and it could be very, very different to what it is. it very, very easily could have been very, very different. So, I commend you. I really do for being so open to be able to talk about this. But we're going to talk about that side of things because that's what the topic of this main video is. But also, people have seen some fantastic images, which look great on screen. But folks, believe me, when you see them printed, and this is in no way me saying get the printing course, but when you see them printed, it's a whole different experience. Beautiful, beautiful images. So I want to talk about that as well, exhibitions and stuff like that. But Nigel, let's just kick off slightly different to what I ordinarily would do by saying, how have you got to be a photographer now? Can you give us like a bit of a history as to what's brought you to be in the photography you are now? Because it's a very different story to anybody that's been on this live broadcast so far.
Yeah. Okay, well, I did a bit of photography back in the film days in the sort of early mid-90s. And then work and traveling with work sort of took me away from it. I had young children at the time and busy family life at weekends. And that was something that is more important to me than the photography. And I never got into it too seriously back then. But then it all really started. The story started really in 2015. Pressure of work, etc., resulted in a severe mental health breakdown. Times were very dark. Just to touch on it briefly, it did lead to a suicide attempt, which thankfully didn't happen in the way it was planned. And through the love of my family, who met my family, Glenn, and some others have as well, I've just got amazing love and support around me. And so that and photography has really saved me. But going back to 2015, I was under the care of the local mental health team for almost 5 years, actually. And they tried me on almost every medication there was possible. And yes, the medication and the therapies I received may have saved my life, who knows. But also in the early days, some of the medications just turned me into a kind of zombie. I was sat in the house, my wife may be talking to me, but I couldn't really hear her. I was just staring at walls. And okay, I was existing, but I certainly wasn't living. So there's very, very dark times. I was deeply embarrassed. A few days before, I had a very good job, which I enjoyed doing. It was stressful and probably led to the breakdown in certain ways, but I did enjoy and thrived on that pressure of work as well. So it led to really feeling deeply embarrassed. Didn't want to face anyone. If I opened the door of the house and seen a neighbour, I'd come back in. I couldn't answer phone calls to friends. It was just a terrible time.
Nigel, are you okay to say, you don't have to go into detail, but with regards to the work that you did before, are you happy to say what that is? Or
Yes, of course. My last job, which I'd been with for a number of years, was with Kinetic. That's Kinetic with a Q, who contract to the MOD. And my last job, which I'd been doing for probably 3 to 4 years, was assurance manager for what was the weapons division. So I'd be traveling all around the country to the ranges they had, and most of them are scattered along on the coast. We've got 2 in Wales, 1 out on the Hebrides on Benbecula. So they all seem to be scattered around the edges of the country.
Right.
So I used to go around really to help people ensure they had safety processes and procedures in place, and that they were working to them as well.
So was it the workload, or was it the kind of responsibility? Because if you're doing that kind of work, there is a huge responsibility on your shoulders anyway. Was it a combination of both that was kind of getting to you?
I think it was a combination. The traveling. Also, while I was doing that job, when I wasn't traveling, I was working from home. And working from home isn't what people who don't work from home think it is. You get isolated, you can get lonely, you don't have that banter over a tea break when you're making a cup of tea and having a chat. So it'd be, and also when I was traveling to these sites, even though I was made most welcome in most places, I wasn't one of them. I was the man coming in to make sure they were doing things right. Even though I'd done it with always with my friendly approach and try to help, I wasn't one of their team, if you know what I mean. I was stepping in from outside. So yeah, that was difficult. But the breakdown was the end of July in 2015. But in March, I had to go into hospital to have a prostate operation. And after 6 weeks, I went back to work. And I'm not sure if I'd fully recovered as well from the operation. I really don't know. So it all could have an add-on effect to things. And perhaps I hadn't recovered and I went back to work. And within a fortnight of being back in work, my boss called me in and said 2 divisions were merging. And I was now going to be looking after something like 20 sites instead of 12.
Wow.
So, so there was a lot of pressure, and yeah, if I look back, there were signs of me going down that slope. But as you do at the time, you just take one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and just plow on and hope things will get better and you'll get through the other end.
That's the thing, isn't it, as well? Because it only seems to me. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it only seems a thing to me that it's fairly recent times that people have felt that they can talk about this kind of stuff, although it's always been there. But, certainly for me growing up and, for all of us, I'd probably say growing up, we've heard that phrase of, oh, pull yourself together and all that kind of stuff, which for anybody suffering is clearly the worst ever thing that you could say. But I mean, Stuart Wood, as in the chat there, I know you're trying to avoid looking at the chat room there, but he's put so brave to talk about this. And it is incredibly brave to talk about something like this. But I know your reasons for doing it. This is, I would imagine talking about it is what is therapy for one, but also in the short time I've known you, I know that you are a very genuine, kind, loving person. So your reasons for doing this are purely selfless. You want to be able to help people for what you've gone through. But when it comes to, you say there that there were possibly signs. For me, I think I can say never suffered with what would be termed as mental health issues. I don't know if I have or not, but all I can say is maybe my nearest time to it would have been during COVID, because that loneliness, although I'm married, that loneliness there of not seeing other people, not going out, it then started to affect me. So in some ways, maybe I can kind of understand it. But I don't know, maybe I'm going around in circles here, but I just, again, my message here to you, mate, is I think it's incredibly brave you're talking about this. But when it comes to sort of like, you say you have this breakdown, how does that manifest itself? You say you didn't want to go outside and stuff like that.
Well, initially, I sort of knew I was struggling, Glenn. But I was up in the Lake District on a site at Eskmeals. It was, so I was about 6 hours from home, journey from home. And I don't even know where I was, but on the journey home, driving somewhere between sort of Cheshire and North Wales area, I remember there was a massive traffic jam and just stopping on what appeared to be a huge viaduct. And that was a difficult time. I basically stopped, went to the edge of the viaduct. People from cars behind me started shouting at me and get back in, and I just burst out crying, thinking of my family. Yeah. So that was when I knew I was in a real bad way.
Do you know? It might sound. I hope this comes across correctly, and I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say here. But that position there, when you say that you thought of your family, my God, are you lucky to have the family that you have? Do you know, I've met them once, and what a wonderful family. I mean, Coralie, who I know sat, you know, in the corner away from you just there. I've met Coralie, just wonderful, incredible support, and your family. I mean, I met them at the exhibition, and your two lads who came over, and they were just a chip off the old block. Absolutely wonderful. And I know that recently, within literally days, you've become grandparents again.
Again, yeah. It was four, but since last Monday, we've now got 5 amazing grandchildren, 4 girls and 1 boy. Yeah.
I'm so glad that held off until after the exhibition, because I get told about this as I'm about to do my kind of like intro. Oh, you know, this could happen anytime. I'm thinking, oh no, but no, wonderful news, mate. Wonderful news.
Yeah. Well, you've seen Louise there, and she only had a few days to go at that stage.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, the family is everything when it comes to something like this, and no greater time to need family than something like this, but also friends, because I know you've got some incredible friends that have been there, and I want to talk to you about a little bit of that in a short while. But obviously, you know, this is why we're here to talk about this initially, but it's how this has led into the photography, because coming through something like you've experienced, where you are at that edge where you're thinking you could end it, you could put, you know, just enough's enough. Thankfully you didn't. So family and friends has been one thing, but the photography bizarrely has kind of come into your life and helped you on the road to recovery. Obviously, that's a long road, but you know you are on that road to recovery.
Yeah.
So how on earth did that come about, mate? I mean, you mentioned that you'd dabbled in photography before, but lead us through it now, because this I am really interested in.
Right. Well, it was over 3 years after the sort of 2015 date where I say I had a breakdown. It was probably 3 years and a couple of months after that. But if I just go back to the breakdown side of it, and the message of where people and even friends tell you, pull your socks up, you need to just get on with it, and things like that. People who are suffering, they are telling themselves that every day. You know that's the easy way out, but you can't do it. There is no way out. Very hard to explain, but believe me, I used to be, quite a determined individual. Anybody who's known me through my sporting days, my working days, and I wouldn't give up easy. So I really told myself, come on, get a grips, pull yourself together. But I couldn't. So after 3 years, it was probably September 2018. And by chance, I was tidying up some drawers in the house. I opened the drawer and there was a camera that had only been used, a simple point and shoot thing. It had only been used really for holiday snaps with family holidays. And since the children have flown the nest, just holidays me and Coralie used to enjoy. And I just thought, I wonder if taking a camera out for a walk with me would just help me get out of the house, because getting out of the house was then, and it still is now, the hardest thing for me to do. Just getting out of the door, getting to location. Once I get setting up and things, I'm in my own little zone. I just transform into another world, really. Finding that camera, it just gave me that first moment of thinking, I wonder if this could help. And at the same time, I started watching a little bit of landscape photography on YouTube as well. And I started going out. A month or so later, I joined my local camera club, Pembrey and Buryport Camera Club. There was only about 6 or 7 members there, tiny little club, but I had a lovely welcome there. And somebody who became a good friend of mine, Tony. Tony's a bit older than me. He's an elderly guy, but much fitter than me too. He looked after me. He arranged to pick me up once a week, twice a week sometimes, and we done all sorts of photography in the early days. But even though I found a good friend, and I was enjoying going out in his company. I weren't really loving the photography at that stage. And it probably took at least 3 months, maybe closer to 6 months, and something changed. And it was down on the coast in Pembrokeshire. I just felt differently on this day. And what I realized, I was actually slowing down my whole process. I was no longer chasing around looking for an image and things. I just slowed down, and I noticed I was noticing far more. I was seeing more then. Again, hard to explain, but things I would have walked past, I was taking time, observing, and just noticing more. And I came home from that outing knowing something had changed in me, and it's continued to grow since then, really. I just love the whole process. I get lost. I do have a sort of set process. I like coastal photography. I love long exposures, and I also enjoy that time when the camera is doing the work, and I'm just enjoying that scene where there's waiting for the sun to pop up or whatever. So I just get totally embraced, and I do lose myself. Perhaps saying the word meditational is a bit too much, but I really find I have no other worries at all when I'm in that zone. Don't always get there.
I don't think that's the wrong word to use, because whatever words you choose to use, like it's your relaxation, your escape, your therapy, your meditation, whatever, it is what it is. And I think really, yourself, me, my friends who I know who love to do photography, and many, many people in the chat room there, I think all of us are very, very lucky to find something that gives us that, because there are many people that go through their entire life not finding that one thing that's their thing. Do you know what I mean? That one thing that allows them to escape the day-to-day life, because day-to-day life, without having the added concerns and worries and stress and things to deal with, like, mental health, when it's as extreme as what you've had to experience and you still are working through, even if you've not got that, life can be hard. So to have that one thing, I think is really precious to find it in your life. So I can totally get why it's helping you. But when it comes to choosing to do the seascapes, especially because you're in a beautiful part of the country, you're right on the coast, what is it about the sea and what is it about long exposure you think that means so much to you and does so much for you?
Oh, right. Well,
I didn't tell you I was going to ask that, did I?
The long exposures, everyone who knows me knows that's what I enjoy doing the most, and I enjoy doing it the most on the coast. Something special about the coast, even a bit of the planning to know what's the tide doing, areas to go to capture, the best place for sunrise or sunset. Because interestingly, the sun both rises and sets 90-degree different position between midsummer and midwinter. So what's perfect for a winter sunrise wouldn't be perfect for the similar shot in the summer months, and vice versa. But on the coast, there's the planning, knowing the tides. I know through learning the hard way, where I have been caught by a few rogue waves, and
you and me both.
Got quite drenched, because people say something like, "Watch out for the 8th or 9th wave." I'm sure this particular day down in Amroth in Pembrokeshire, I was counting the waves before going down onto the beach in position, and everything seemed 5. And I think I was observing the scene for a good 5 minutes. Went down, got my tripod sort of bedded in nice and tight, started looking for the composition and just fine-tuning stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'd just seen it come in the corner of my eye. This wave hit me almost chest high. It just came from nowhere. Like, so it is, I always take a change of clothes. So back up to the van, change of clothes, and then I was back out, but being a bit more careful.
Yeah.
So that was a number of years ago. Now I do know what the tides are doing, and I do prefer following a tide out for a couple of reasons. Number one, safety,
Yeah.
and two, it cleans the beach for you of all footprints and things on its way out, after being in full.
Yeah. Good
So,
point.
yeah, that's what I love doing. And then I like beaches, like we've got where you and Anthony went to, Pembrey Beach. Is just 7 miles
Beautiful.
of golden sand.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not very photogenic. I prefer things where there's like foreground rocks, or structures leading you into the sea. Then that can give you something of interest in the image. And especially with rocks like that image is on now, that's down Wiseman's Bridge. That's all about just finding a location, getting up on the rocks, in amongst it. I think to get those type of shots, you need to be in the shallows yourself, getting immersed in it, and then spending a little bit of time just looking at what the waves are doing. And you don't have too much time because that tide is constantly moving in or moving out, so you have got to move with it a bit. So you've got a little bit of time to play with and working on what shot.
I've got to ask Nigel, are you a waders or a wellies man?
Oh, I am going to waders. I can't swim, so yeah.
Oh, right.
I
Okay,
can't
fair
swim,
enough.
so wellies is enough for me. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I want to get more into your kind of photography in a short while, because there's things I want to ask you, because I'm still very much in the learning phase when it comes to the seascapes and stuff like that. But I totally agree with what you say about preferring an outgoing tide. I didn't think about it for the benefit you said there as well, for cleaning the beach and making it nice and almost virgin sand and stuff. But mine was because I got very, very scared at one point when I was down at Heartland Quay. I'm sure you know Heartland Quay.
Yeah.
And totally misjudged it. So what I started to do was, when I was going down to those areas where it was quite treacherous and you had to do a bit of climbing over quite high things to get into the position you wanted, I started to send the drone up to then kind of have that above to find the best route for me to climb in. So then I knew then what to do before I'd committed myself. And that seemed to be a useful thing until the seagulls started attacking it. But something else I wanted to kind of mention as well, because if what you've said hasn't been enough for one person to deal with, you talk about the prostate side of things, you talk about, the work, the life, everything that kind of accumulated in you having this breakdown. Something else happened to you fairly recently as well, didn't it? Within the last couple of years. Are we talking about the...
Yeah. Well, it was a couple of real difficult things happened in the last couple of years. Going back almost 2 years now, I had a heart attack. I'd been busy trying to get a little bit fitter. I was walking 5K a day, been having chest pain for a number of months, and I'd been through cardiology. And at that time, it was sort of COVID time, so it was only telephone appointments, really, questionnaires over the phone. And they discharged me. They said they didn't think it was heart-related. But then 3 months after those phone calls, I was rushed in, just finished a 5K walk with Jason, my eldest son, meeting Liam, my youngest. The three of us were going to have a breakfast in the local cafe. What I'm gutted about, I never started the breakfast because I had this massive heart attack there and then. In some ways, when they told me I was having a severe heart attack, in some ways it was a bit of a relief, because I thought I knew something wasn't right for a long time. And it was, in my sense, it was okay, put the stent in, fix the plumbing, and I'll be a new man. But I've learned since then it isn't quite that easy. I can't do what I used to do, but there's so many things I can do as well, like just easy locations, walking onto the local beaches. Yeah. So there's so much I can do. Yeah.
When the heart attack, Nigel, because I've got to ask, is I mean, how scary, for not just for you, but for your lads as well, to see their dad going through that. I mean, just awful, but you're here to tell the story, thankfully. But what is that like? Do you know what I mean? Is it because my wife's a former paramedic, and she would say that it was almost like people tell the paramedics it's like almost like having a seriously heavy weight on your chest.
Yeah.
But also very, very painful. I mean, what was it like for you?
It was like a heavy, crushing feeling. I wouldn't say overly painful, but my arms, both arms, I was just couldn't feel my arms. They were just started off tingling, and I couldn't feel them. There was an intense heaviness in my chest. And the emotions that were coming at the same time, as if I knew what was happening. My lad phoned for an ambulance. Even though there was a suspected heart attack, they said it was an 8-hour waiting list. So my other son ran and got his car, come back to the cafe. Liam, me, Jace driving, jumped into the car, and they were thinking good. I remember telling Jason, drive safe, and I remember Liam trying to keep me awake when I was sort of going in and out a bit. And Liam still, through all that, while Jason was driving, thought he had the presence of mind to phone the hospital. And when we got there, which was about a 25-minute drive, A&E were waiting for us. So from that moment, even though I couldn't get an ambulance, from that moment, the treatment was superb. Yeah. They had me straight in and through, give me some tests, told me I was having a big heart attack. They were on the phone to the next another hospital to transfer me up to have a stent fitted. So from getting to the hospital roughly about 11 in the morning, I was back on the ward in a different hospital by 4 p.m. having had a stent fitted. So the treatment and the service I had was tremendous. But yeah, it was horrible. I suppose part of you do get a bit scared, and you do think this may be it. And also at that stage, Coralie was there as well, and my boys looking over me, and that was difficult.
Yeah.
I remember.
It makes me think when you told me that story initially about you having that heart attack, it made me remember a story of a friend of mine who I've not seen for a short while now, but he was best man at my wedding 25 years ago. And we caught up a number of years back. And when I first kind of caught up with him, it was through the wonders of social media. I just happened to see him on there. And we ended up having a bit of a chat on WhatsApp, on a video chat. And I noticed his eyes were black. Not the outsides, not like a punch black eye, but the actual whites of his eyes, everything was black. It was almost like a horror story. I said, Paul, I've got to ask, what's happened to your eyes? And he said, oh, that's blood, that is. And so he went on to tell me, and he's the same age as me. So he said, a short while prior, he was at home with his wife and his young son, went upstairs to go to the toilet. And as he's opened the door, all of a sudden he had this immense pain in his chest. And he's dropped to his knees in real pain. And he's told his son, get your mom. So his little lad, who's probably about 11, ran downstairs to get the mom. He said, the next thing he knows, he's kind of in this room. And this sounded really strange. But when he told me, it gave me like a bit of a shiver down your spine. But he said he's in this room and his mom was there. Now, his mom has passed on several years before. And he said his mom was reaching out to him saying, just literally to grab his hand. And he went out to reach her, he said. And he went, no. He said he stopped and went, no, not yet. I'm not ready. Next thing you know, he wakes up and he's got paramedics on top of him, giving him all this, all the old. And so the reason his eyes had gone black was the pressure of him being given the old, I forget what you call it now, but you know what I mean? But the old breaths and
compressions,
compressions and stuff like that. That's what it was. But I thought, my God, the fact that he said, honestly, as I'm sat here, he said, oh, my mom reached out to me and I said, no, next thing you know, I'm coming round and I've got this guy on top of me giving all these compressions, the pressure of it caused that in his eyes. Like, wow. Yeah. Just incredible. We don't know the full story behind all this stuff, do we? But wow, incredible.
No, and I never experienced anything like that, Glyn, but certainly the fear looking at my family and just thinking I don't want to go yet. I've got so much love around me. And what was quite hard, like I've obviously had my mental health struggles and I still got them. A guy similar age to me, he was one of my son's football managers, and he had a massive heart attack about a couple of months after mine, I think it was. And he had no second chance. He was getting ready for work in the morning, heart attack, and he was dead. And so I was questioning, and he was a lovely guy. He seemed to be enjoying life. He had some health problems, diabetes and things like that, but he was enjoying his life. He was always a pleasure to meet, happy to talk to. And I did go through a phase of, why did people like them not have a chance? And I've had a second chance, but I start, as the years are going by, I just believe our lives are sort of penciled out for us in certain ways, and what's meant to be is meant to be.
Absolutely.
But also, just touching on the mental health side of it, Glenn, it was hard, especially for Coralie and the family as well, because they see me change as a person overnight. Like I say, even communicating was difficult. There was periods of time, I know it sounds awful now, but a week or 2 weeks sometimes without washing, and she'd have to really prompt me, come and have a wash, go and clean your teeth. And it was horrible for her too, and for my boys, but they kept telling me they believed in me and I would get well. And I think I was fortunate. So many people who have these struggles, they go home to an empty house. I went home to a loving house, and that's so different.
Yeah. All credit to them. Wonderful people. Like I say, I've met Coralie and your lads just the once, and you can just see the kind of relationship that you all have. It is very, very special. Very, very special indeed. Yeah. Now, I know that, we've talked about that, the mental health issues. We've talked about the heart attack and what have you. But I know that also, I only just know this though, before we went live, you actually wrote a book about this stuff, didn't you? Some of the things that you'd experienced. And I think you've got a copy of it there. And did you say that you wanted to maybe read just a little bit out of it?
Yeah, if that's okay, Glenn. I forgot to tell you about it until earlier, but after the heart attack, which was September 2022, there was a couple of things. I couldn't do what I could previously physically, so it was time to try something different. So it is when I started printing at home, do my own printing, and also something I'd always wanted to do is have a book published. So there it is. It's available on Blurb. All the proceeds, not many have sold, but all the proceeds of that go to mental health charity Mind as well. When I say not many have sold, it's been there about a year and a half almost now, and I think it's sold about 15 copies. So it's not very good, but it's something I wanted to do, and it was a big achievement for me personally. And it's titled Finding Calm in the Chaos, the Positive Impact of Landscape Photography on My Mental Health. I'm just going to... I'll just have a look at the last something from the last chapter in it now, just to give you a flavour for it. And the last chapter was a new perspective on life. Landscape photography can be a powerful tool for anyone struggling with mental health issues. By immersing yourself in nature and the process of capturing its beauty through photography, you can shift your focus away from negative thoughts and emotions and towards the present moment. This can lead to a decrease in symptoms, which is extremely beneficial, even if the relief only lasts for a short period. Photography can be therapeutic as it allows you to express yourself creatively and to see the world in a new way. It can provide a sense of accomplishment and purpose, which can be particularly beneficial for those dealing with depression and anxiety. Landscape photography is a way to combine the benefits of being in nature with the act of creating something beautiful. It can provide a sense of perspective, reminding us of the beauty and wonder that exists in the world, even through difficult times. It can be a reminder that despite the hardships we may be feeling, there is still beauty and positivity to be found in the world. And overall, landscape photography can serve as a valuable resource for anyone dealing with mental health issues, as it can provide a sense of purpose, a connection to nature, and a shift in perspective. Well, this is the end of this part of my journey. I am where I am, and I will get through this one day at a time.
Fair play to you, mate. That's lovely. And I will be getting a copy of that. I'll put the link, if you can, when we speak afterwards, mate, if you can let me know the link to that on Blurb. I'm sure that there'll be some people that would like to maybe have a look at that as well. And if all the proceeds are going to mine, then wonderful. But I want a copy and I want you to sign it. How's that?
No problem. Thanks, Glenn.
All right. No worries. Well, listen, look, I think, you can tell from the chat, if you have had a glance over, that the overriding message is that people are loving the work, loving the images that you've done, and also that you are, like I said at the start, very courageous to come on and be so honest. But like I said, there is a reason for you doing this. It's purely because you are a very selfless person. But let's change gear. All right, let's change gear. Let's have a very quick commercial break, and when we come back, selfishly, I want to ask you about your photography. I want to learn more. All right, how can I be getting stuff like you're doing? So I want to talk kit. Everyone wants to know kit. I want to talk about settings. I want maybe even talk about how you plan when you do go out, because I know, for you that is still can be a struggle. I know that. But what is it that you do when you want to say, right, to almost guarantee, if you can, when it comes to seascapes, guarantee coming back with a shot? So let's have a quick break. I'll mute you, so don't worry about background noise, and then
okay.
and then I'll dig into those questions for you. But we'll back in a moment. So, right, let me just very quickly play this. Incredible stuff, isn't it? I mean, like, comments. Thank you so much for all the comments coming in. It's lovely to see it. I know there aren't any questions. I didn't expect there to be any questions. I did expect it to be the kind of comments that are coming in and more, and they have. You're just fantastic. But let's have a very quick break. I'll play this one. This is the Westcott ad. It's to do with the L60, the continuous LED light, which I am using all the time now. I'll be using it again on Wednesday when I'm with Anthony, my friend, doing a photo shoot, and also on Saturday when we've got quite a nice planned shoot up in the studio at Ian Munro's place, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 Creative. But there's a big update coming on that bit of hardware as well. So more will be revealed, but let me just quickly play this and we'll be back. Alrighty, so Nigel, let's ask you some questions. But I've seen one come in the chat, and I don't know if I should get you to answer this or not, because even the question sounds a bit right? So the question is, just the comment says, ask Nigel about the toilet episode on the Scotland adventure. And I'm kind of thinking, should I?
Yes, of course you can. As Ginger Captures, Darren Morehouse. Hello, Darren. Well, there was about 6 of us went up in camper vans in October 2021 up through Glencoe and onto Skye. I think we were 8 or 9 days in total. The weather was atrocious. Me and Corley shared 9 cosy days and nights in a camper van, but we had the best time ever. Great company, and we all had such a great time. But we met in a trucker's lay-by outside Carlisle on the first night to meet and drive up as a convoy the next day. And there was a portaloo in the toilet, and I'd gone off down to the portaloo, and sort of half jokingly and half serious, because there was a few of the lads queuing to go in after me. I was pretending I was stuck in the toilet. So I started shaking it about, and the portaloo was moving, and there was a few swear words coming from me, help me, let me out of here and all that. And what I didn't know, when I opened the door and I came out laughing at them, because it was all a bit of fun, they were filming it. So I do think it went on somebody's YouTube blog as well. Yeah. But,
at least that's a clean story. I thought that was going to be a lot worse than what it was.
all good fun. And I got to say, some of the trips we had back in 2021 especially, I had a number of trips with a good gang of good friends. Since my heart attack, I haven't been able to get out to them because like Darren himself is from Yorkshire. So it's a bit of a long travel for me, but we will meet up again, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I'll know to be on my best behaviour next time in case he shares this again.
Listen, I know that I said I wanted to ask you about your photography, and I will ask you about your photography, but one thing I want to make sure I ask you about is the exhibition, obviously, because that's how we first of all met, you know. No, actually, no, we met at 𝐴𝐻𝐻 Cameras. That's right. We met at 𝐴𝐻𝐻 Cameras because I was there doing an evening going through printing, and you were there, and we chatted. I think we communicated a couple of times on Messenger or email after that. But then obviously out of the blue, I get this message from you asking if I would open your exhibition, which, you know, in a nanosecond, it was a yes, a huge honor for me to do that. But I want to ask you about the exhibition because it was amazing. And I know that Anthony, who's in the chat, would vouch for this as well. It was one of those moments, like I said at the very start, when you walk into it and all your images, the ones that I've been pressing buttons and many more, you know, that have been coming up on the screen, when you walk out and you see them printed, totally different feeling. I mean, how you'd arranged them, they're all mounted and what have you, how you'd chosen the right paper for that image, which was, I mean, that in itself is an art to choose the right kind of paper. But my first question to you is, you know, myself and the people in the chat are learning what you've gone through so far in your story, from being at the point where you couldn't even leave the door, you know, to go out. But here you are organising something very public, something where you're putting yourself on the line. You know, for somebody who's doing an exhibition without dealing what you're dealing with, an exhibition is a very stressful thing. And I can speak that for myself, having had my own exhibition at the end of 2019 into 2020. So first of all, what made you want to do an exhibition, knowing that you're putting yourself in a very stressful position, which is adding to the stress that you're already dealing with? And also, how did you go about doing it? And also, again, something else, if you can remember this, what's been the benefits of doing it?
Right, okay. I'll try and remember all of that. But okay, well, the change didn't come overnight. I had some, like I say, I had some great trips with some good friends back in 2021 especially. And during these photo trips, there could be just two of you side by side on the side of a mountain, and you do start talking about things. And sometimes it's easier to talk to relative strangers than it is to your best mates and family even. And one example I remember, which I would put down into very much changing my mindset, was when I met a guy from called Peter. He was from Somerset, and it was on Mumbles Beach, which is only about an hour away from me. And I didn't know he was going to be there, never seen him before, and jumped on my skin first when I going down onto the beach in the dark, waiting for the early morning light. And there's this guy about 20 yards away from me, so it was a little bit of a jump out of the skin moment. So it was a raise of hands like you do, and just acknowledge each other. And later on, then you start having a natter and things. And for some reason, I started sharing how I got into photography with him. But what surprised me more was his story. It wasn't a pure reflection of mine, but there were big similarities. And I came home that day realizing everyone has troubles at some time in their life. It hasn't got to be mental health. It can be anything, but everyone has big hurdles to cross at some stage in their life. And something changed in me after that conversation. I thought, let's stop hiding behind it. I've had a chat with a total stranger there, and it is an open, honest chat between the two of us. And I certainly realized that everyone has difficult times. And so moving on from there, it sort of gave me a little bit of, I don't know if confidence is the right word, to open up a little bit more. And I started, I've always shared a lot of my images, mainly on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but Facebook is what I normally use and usually use. And I started maybe putting a few words to a photo of how I felt on the day, how hard it had been to get out, and the benefits it gave me for being out. So I started sharing in that manner. Must be probably two to 3 years ago. And and over the last 15 months or so, I started doing talks at camera clubs, and one to show the images, but mainly to share my story. And it's I think I'm coming up to about 20 talks I've done now, mostly in person at clubs across South Wales, a couple on Zoom to clubs further afield. And I do get anxious before everyone, but it's doing me good. As Coralie says, she can see me trying to rebuild myself slowly. So a lot of what I'm doing is not totally selfless, because what I'm doing to raise mental health awareness is very much helping me as well. And sorry, I've lost my way a little bit there, but it is very much helping me as well.
But the exhibition side of things, I mean, it's just amazing when I hear your story that you put on an exhibition. I'm glad you did. My God, am I glad you did. And my God, it was well attended. It was busy, people loving the stuff. What made you do that? Was it purely because you wanted to find a way to help raise funds for the local mental health charity? Or was it something else and you thought, actually, I could use this for raising funds? So what was the initial motivation for doing it?
Well, initially, it was an opportunity. I got to go back to just after the heart attack, when I started doing my own printing, and I started building up a body of work then. And then somewhere in the back of my mind came this thought, wouldn't it be great to do an exhibition? And raising money for charity didn't come into it until a few weeks before the exhibition, because me and Coralie had discussed it, and we had a bit of a feeling that we didn't want people to feel we were there to take money off them or raise money. We wanted to do it in the main for people to enjoy it, feel the peace that I feel in the images, take them back to places they may have been many years ago, and also just to talk to whoever turned up. I had no expectations on that weekend, because I didn't want to have expectations for my own well-being. If I'd probably expected it to be a big success and it hadn't been, it may have had a negative effect on me. So after building up a bit of a body of work, my printing, it was probably 6 months before the exhibition, I got fully engaged in seriously thinking about it. So there was, with the planning, there was contacting a few people to see where could I hold it, because again, I was asking people to help. I didn't want to pay for a building. We'll cover that a bit soon now, but the John Burns Foundation, they stood up and they said they normally closed on weekends, but they offered to me on the weekend. And it's only 4 years old, the foundation building, and it's just a beautiful location. I thought the whole setup was perfect for an exhibition, and to have a reasonably large room of guests. We've done the slideshow showing other photos which weren't presented in prints, and with some nice, gentle, relaxing music backing that up. And I think it all created a lovely sort of ambience in the room. So there was the John Burns Foundation. So my first thing was to try and nail down a location, and that was quite quickly agreed with, and they said they'd really support it, and I could have use of their facility for the weekend, as it was raising mental health awareness. And they do a lot. They are a charity themselves, and they do an awful lot for the local community. So it was fantastic that they wanted to support the exhibition. I think the next thing on my list then was when I contacted yourself, Glyn, and that all leads from my printing. And if I can touch on that briefly, I started printing, and I've been put off it for the number of years I've been in the camera club, because people do make it sound far more difficult than what it actually is. Yes, there's a process to follow. And probably in the early days, I was listening to too many people who were giving their best advice, but it was all conflicting each other. And I made a right fudge of it, and most of my prints ended up in the bin. And ink and paper isn't cheap. But then, it was in the February. I'd seen you on YouTube before that, and I instantly liked the way you sort of educated people, I suppose, and certainly from the not just the printing side of it, but the printing I was really getting into. And you've done a few quite in-depth things on YouTube with the printing, and also there was Carmarthen Cameras a year last February that we met, and I asked you if your background was a teacher. But quite
the opposite.
I know, but you do come over as a very professional teacher, and you also simplify what can be a difficult process. And it's like anything really. Like with my photography, I've got this simplified process that I follow, and it happens on autopilot now. You don't really think it through every time. And the same with my printing. I very much have adopted what I call my simple approach to the Glyn Dewis masterclass of printing.
You've got some prints there, haven't you? Have you got a print there?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Show us your prints. Come on. And this isn't planned, by the way, because I mentioned the printing at the start. All right, just so people know that.
Let me just try and get it in. Well, there's one that's from Wiseman's Bridge. Early morning before sunrise. One of my favourite locations on the Pembrokeshire coast. And like I was mentioning earlier, I love getting on the rocks and just capturing the movement in the water, whether that's with a relatively fast shutter speed to capture like almost mini waterfalls cascading over the rocks, or my more common thing is longer exposures to make it more ethereal and mist it all out a little bit. What I love about the long exposures is it's not what you actually see, it's what the camera can capture over a period of time. And it's great when you put your mind into it, when you're looking for a photo, and then you see it, coming out, I wouldn't say exactly as you'd hoped, but very close to it. So that's one of Wiseman's Bridge. And I have been using Permajet papers for all my exhibition prints, and through you give me a contact into Permajet with Adam and RB Glyn. They very kindly also give me a massive discount on paper for the exhibition. So it's another area where I was helped greatly. And without the community of help I had, there's no way the exhibition could have happened in such a professional way. But yeah, that's Wiseman's Bridge, and that's on Permajet Photo Art Silk 290. I don't think you can see it in here, but
I've got to go there. Me and you and Anthony and maybe Brian as well. If Brian's up for a trip, we're going to have to go there. We're going to have to go to this Wiseman's.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And there's a nice pub there for lunch as well.
Deal.
But that's it's a matte paper, but it's got a slight silk sheen to it and a lovely subtle texture. So I use that for nearly all of my colour landscapes. There's another one on the same paper as an example here. And that's down at what's known as the other way. The Green Bridge of Wales. Another very early morning. You can just see the sun popping over the horizon. That's down on the back end of the Castle Martin fire and range. So you've got to make sure the range is closed when you want to get on there. But it is a good idea. You don't want tanks charging towards you, but that's another one on the photo silk 290 paper.
I'll put details of all these papers as well that Nigel's mentioning. I'll put them in the blog post tomorrow just so everyone knows. But hey, I might even speak to Permajet to see if they can offer a Nigel discount. Who knows?
Oh, that would be cool. Now, this one, I think it may have come up on your little slideshow as well.
It did, yes. Yeah.
Not on the coast, but again, as a couple, certainly Darren Morehouse, who's on, he was here this day with us. There may be a few others on. I haven't caught all the names who've been coming on, but this is my last shot of the morning. We had a beautiful sunrise at Blee Tarn up in the Lake District. And just as we were heading back and going to get breakfast, I thought, let's do a super long exposure. So this is the longest exposure I've done. This is a 10-minute exposure.
Wow.
I tried it in black and white, and I think it works well, even though the colour is beautiful too. And this is on the Permajet Heritage range, the brighter Rag 310 paper.
Yes, no, it
and it's more of a sheen to this. Not as much as you can see with my lights there, but it's a beautiful paper. Really intense blacks and good contrast in it. I just love it. I do nearly all my black and whites on this and selected images in color. Mainly I'll use this if I got that's it. If I've got plain skies or something, I sometimes feel that the slight texture in the photo art silk can be a little bit not overpowering, but I prefer the sort of flatter, more sheen look on the brighter paper for those sort of images.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, listen, I'm. Oh, one more. Hold on a second. Let's just get rid. Wonderful image. Fiona Hewitt says wonderful image. Right. Let's just come back to you. There we go. Oh, hello. I've seen that one before.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of a funny story to say about this one, because that one is the Straining Tower on Lake Vyrnwy, up in sort of the middle of North Wales, really. Right. And Coralie booked a hotel for my 60th birthday. We were there for 2 nights. So, basically we had a few sunrises, sunsets, and some adventures in the day, and some nice meals as well. But I always share on Facebook, and I had one comment, not on this image, but on one from the series. You must not fly drones at Lake Vyrnwy. So I quite happily sent him a photo of me giving a thumbs up on the hotel balcony with a camera on a tripod. So it was,
wonderful stuff. So I mean, those images there, like I can, when you see them in person, there's no comparison. I mean, they look great when I press them on the screen, but in person, it really does make them come to life, doesn't it? Again, not being said purely because my printing course is coming out. I mean, I don't have to preach to you about printing and the value of it.
Yeah.
But Nigel, I'm conscious of time. I told you this would go quick. I really did. But one thing I want to do, just very selfish then, just quickly talk about kit. because that's something I'm always very interested in. So when it comes to, tell us what camera you're using. And actually, in a simpler way then, say you were going to go out to do a seascape tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, whatever. What would be in your bag? What would you be taking with you? What are the main things? What's your camera? Do you use filters? What lenses would you take? So just cover those things for us.
Okay. Well, I've always been a Canon user, but for the last just about 12 months now, I moved over to Fuji with the GFX, which for landscapes and seascapes is superb. It's a slower camera than the Canon, so it wouldn't be the camera for sport or wildlife and things like that, but for my landscapes, it's superb. It's sort of between a large or full frame and medium format, so it's a nice large sensor, captures a lot of light, a lot of the detail. It's excellent for what I do most of the time. And the lenses I've got the kit lens that came with it, which is a 35 to 70. I think that's equivalent to like a 28 to 55. I've got a wide angle of 20 to 35, which is actually on the camera here. And there's my camera, and that's the 20 to 35 lens. I can see my friend Dibs there, another GFX user. Yeah, and it's a great bit of kit. And also I've got 100 to 200 lens, which I don't use as often. But those are the three lenses that I own for that system, and that's usually what's with me in my bag. Cool. Sometimes, if I'm struggling a bit with fatigue, I leave the bigger lens behind. But something else I've got to show you, because it's just as important. It's just as important as the camera in my mind. A good sturdy tripod. I've actually got a Benro, I think it's a TMA 38, good, solid quality tripod. Not cheap, but not the most expensive out there either. With tripods, you do get what you pay for. And I've had a few cheaper ones before. In hindsight, I would have bought a tidy one straight off. So this is a massive part of my photography. You need it, especially on the coast, to bed things down tight into the sand if you're on the sand. And what I've got on top of it, I've got what they call, if you can see that, a leveling head.
Right.
And so what you can do, because sometimes it can be a bit of a fiddle to get the tripod legs in such a way that the tripod is bang on level. So with a leveling head, it's got its own little bubble and spirit level, and you can adjust it. So like there now, lock it, and that tripod now, even if the legs aren't perfectly straight, the tripod is perfectly level. And to top it all off, I've got a Benro geared head, which I've had probably 2.5 years now. Again, it's superb, because what I find, and the importance of having the tripod extremely level is more important if you're doing panoramic images and stitching them together. So that's the main reason for that. If you're doing one image, you can just use the level on the back of the camera. But the geared head, what it does, you can make quick adjustments, or you can just fine tune. And when I say fine tune, in 3 axes, you can just move it millimeter by millimeter. So it's excellent for just fine tuning the composition. Because since I've gone to the Fuji system, I've changed my way of shooting a little bit, and also changed the filters I use.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask you just very quickly about the filters side of things, because that was always something when I was doing a lot of it during the COVID times, because I was doing the seascapes. I went out and got everything that I thought I needed, and I had a huge thick wallet full of these different neutral density filters, graduated, was it reverse or negative graduated filters or whatever? Portrait photographer, so I don't really know. and I don't ended up using them in the end. I kind of found them fiddly. So when it comes to filters, are you using just regular kind of neutral density filters of different grades, or are you using graduated neutral density filters?
Right. So what I was doing, I'd gone over to the circular magnetic system, which was just ND filters, neutral density filters, and I had and a polarizer. So I had a polarizer, a 3, a 6, and a 10 stop. But I was bracketing a lot more, bracketing exposures, because I found, especially on some of the scenes I'm doing with quite an extreme band on histogram, I was finding I couldn't capture the scene in one shot. I was losing either the blacks were going out and the highlights. So that was telling me I needed a bracket to capture all the scene of a dynamic range. But I was missing my grad filter. I know it sounds daft, and a lot of my friends who are on here tonight as well, the circular magnetic system is small, it's compact, it's lighter, it's got so many positives, but I just missed my grad filter. So I've gone back, since I've gone to Fuji, to my square format system. I've got the NISI V7 kit. So it comes, I've got the polarizer, the attachment, and I've got a 3, a 6, and a 10 stop ND. I've only got a couple of grads. I think a 3, both of them are 3 stop, soft and medium. And I've also got a reverse grad, which can be great for when that sun is just coming over the horizon. I've gone that, and it's something for me. Again, not everyone agrees with me, but you can do the same in softer. But I just love sliding the grad into position and seeing that detail appear in the sky. And what it's done for me, most of my shots now are one take. I'll only bracket now if for example, I've put the grad in place and I still can't contain my histogram to make it one shot. In those instances, then I'll do a bracket as well.
I totally get why you would go back to using those graduated filters, because I know when I did try it, it's always lovely, isn't it, to be able to get that shot in one as opposed to bracketing, then having to combine them and all that kind of stuff. There's something really special about almost building that shot so that when you eventually get there, you press it and what you see is what you get. So I totally get that. So I'm kind of torn now. What do I do? I've got a couple of... I was speaking to Chris actually at Command and Camera, saying, "What do you do?" And he was saying, I'll kind of, I think he said, I overexpose on something. I have just a normal ND filter, a different strength, and then blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking I might go that route then. But, wherever I go, whatever I choose to do, I'm enjoying the process of learning it. But we will get together. I fancy kind of me and you, Anthony, maybe even Brian, if Brian can take the trip over from Portsmouth way, us getting together. That pub sounds great, and we'll go out and do a shoot and maybe just film some behind the scenes of what we're getting up to. That would be a great thing for us to maybe follow on with from this, so that we can come back and you can talk us through what we did on that day. That could be a really good one, so long as we get the results. Yeah. But
that'd be fantastic.
But listen, Nigel, I'm very conscious of the time. It's 20 past
right.
8 now in the UK. It's gone so quick. But what I wanted to do, I've tried to start, let's just bring this up here. This is normally the segment where there'd be questions and stuff like that. But I know there have been some questions in. I might leave it to you if you're happy with it. When this is all processed tomorrow, about 11-ish by the time YouTube do it, there'll be the live chat available to see. So it might be something that you could dive in and just answer that question for them. So I think Brian posted one up. I think... who else? Tim Oliver posted a question there about what would be your go-to kind of shutter speeds and what would you go for, that kind of stuff. So if maybe you could dive and answer those, that would be great. But there are a ton of lovely comments. Let me just see if I can bring my cursor over just here. So many comments. I want to just read some of these out for you and you'll be able to see them. So some of the comments here, it goes to show that you never know a person's story. Like you said, people have always got a story. Tim Oliver has put here, let's just bring this one up. Tim has put, as someone who has grappled with depression myself, creativity and photography can be the natural medication one needs to escape the darkness. So glad Nigel made it through and his art is amazing. Incredible.
Thank you,
Brian.
Tim.
Brian, it's so hard working from home alone. It's absolutely not for everyone and not for every type of job. Totally get the isolation it brings. Stuart Wood. I mean, Stuart has been very, very open and honest in the comments section here. My good friend Stuart, friends of many people in the chat room, he is. But when you wake up and think, what's the point? That's a bad day for me. So I think, from what Stuart's been saying there, again, very revealing in the comments there that he too has struggled with it. And I think we all have to some degree or not. Norman, Norman, great guy, always here watching these, always commenting. Very well done, Nigel. I went through that myself 20 years ago. It's tough. So some amazing, amazing comments. There are so many, and I'd love that, obviously you're going to be able to see all these once this is all gone. Once it's been processed tomorrow.
Sorry, Glenn, if I can just add something, because I don't think I've mentioned it, but it's certainly important from my point of view. Something else that has really helped me deal with the bad days is dealing with one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time, but also acceptance and gratitude. Two key things I think of every day now. Accepting things are as they are. We're all getting older. We've all got difficulties, whether it's physical health, mental health, or whatever difficulties you may encounter in your life. And just accepting, well, this is part of my journey. Accepting, I can't really change it. I can try to accept it and move on and deal with it. And the other thing, gratitude. It's so easy to question, why me? Why am I suffering like this? Why can't I have the motivation to get out? Why this? Why that? But being grateful for not what you haven't got, but for what you have got. As you know, I've got such a loving family. I've got some really, really good friends, two in particular have ridden the storm with me. They were there every day with me through it. Even they were both working at the time, even a text message, phone calls, which sometimes I couldn't even answer, but they never left me. So the family, close friends, I've made some lovely photography friends over the last number of years. So just being grateful. I'm grateful that I'm still able to go out and take photos. I'm very grateful I've got some nice camera gear. So the list goes on. So acceptance and gratitude. I just wanted to share that.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. But I want to just finish off with just a couple of comments that have come in here. And I'm going to play your promo reel right at the very end, because I think we need to see all that again. I think the music fits in, and those final little words as well that I asked you to say, actually, didn't I? I don't know if you realise why, but I said to you, sent you a message saying, Nigel, in a few words, what would you say photography's done for you? And those words at the end are words that you used. But let's just finish off with these here. Deborah's put, these images are unique in the way they speak. Maybe whisper to the viewer and breathtaking to gaze upon. Wonderful to hear that. Norman, again, has put one day at a time. That is the essence. Great message. Your friend and mine, Christian, has put such an inspiration, Nigel, mate. Incredible story and resilience. Blessed to know you. And finally, Dibs Photography. Well, he's all the way.
Nice one, Dibs.
Nigel, where would you say that people can go to sort of see what you're up to? Where's the best place to check you out?
Okay, probably my Facebook, and I think they just type in Nigel Thomas photos. I'll come up. If you find a guy with a bald head out taking lots of photos, that's me. And I am on Instagram as well, Nigel Thomas 17, but I struggle with Instagram, so I don't use it anywhere near as much.
We'll sort that out. We'll get that sorted, but no. Nigel, I said it at the start, it's been echoed so many times in the comments and the chat room there, but hats off to you. You are one of the good guys, and I think it is incredibly brave and selfless that you're prepared to come on and do this, and also share your story the way you have been across numerous camera clubs and Zooms, be they in person or whatever, but just amazing. I said to you before this, me and you were exchanging WhatsApp messages, and I told you there's a friend of mine many years ago said something very wise to me, and he said that you meet people in life for one of three reasons: a reason, a season, or for life. And in my message, I said to you, you're a lifer. You definitely are. I've only known you a few weeks, but you're a mate for life. And I think Anthony will say the same. We just completely clicked, and I love that. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Carmarthen Cameras for that printing evening, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak to your exhibition, to open it, which was genuinely an absolute honour. It really, really was. I've been very fortunate to do some incredible things in this career of mine over the years in different countries, but that's way up there. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glyn. Now, there's something I'd like to share. You probably don't want me to share it, but I need to anyway. And when you do things like an exhibition, you realise about the kindness out there in the world. The world is portrayed as this terrible, bad place and the bad people around. But, there's so many genuine, kind, friendly people who go out of their way for you. I approached Glyn out of the blue. I know he was coming down and staying. It's quite a trip from where Glyn lives, probably best part of 3.5, 4 hours. He was coming down, staying over the night. And he wouldn't let me pay for the accommodation. He wouldn't let me pay for the fuel. I hardly knew this guy, and he'd done it all because he wanted to. And thank you. Thank you so much,
mate. It's what we do. It's what we do. Right. Okay. Don't disappear. Go into the green room. There you go. I did it. I did that thing. Go into the green room, and I'll see you there. So I'll close this down. I'm going to do just a little bit of admin, mate. I'm going to show your promo one more time, but don't click anything. Just be there. But I'll mute you. Okay. All right. So you can make whatever noise you want in the background. I'll be with you very soon. Yeah. But
thank you very much to all the viewers. Thank you very much for joining Glyn and me tonight. I know I haven't seen everyone who's online. There's a lot going on the right-hand side of the screen. But a sincere thank you, and I hope you got something out of tonight.
Oh, they did. They definitely did. Mate, I shall see you very soon. Right. Okay. Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And again, thank you to you folks for joining us this evening and for making that chat room what it is. Some wonderful things there. And like I said before, I won't be removing the countdown at the start, because if I do, that gets rid of all this chat here. So that'll be there. If ever you want to watch this again, or if anybody in the future watches this, they'll see the countdown, but they can obviously jump through it. But all that live chat will be there, which is really important to see. And it'd be great for Nigel to have a look at it, later on. But let's just quickly wrap up then. Just as a quick reminder, don't forget on Thursday, I did see somebody say, remind me, it is definitely this Thursday coming, 6 p.m. UK time, a free webinar that I'm doing, hosted by Calibrite, where I'll be going through my new Lightroom portrait retouching workflow. The stuff I'm doing in Lightroom now that I only ever thought I could do in Photoshop, but my God, am I learning more and more and more. So absolutely loving it. I'm looking forward to sharing that. That's the link. I'll put all this in the blog post and in the description of the video tomorrow. It'll be about 11 o'clock-ish UK time, AM, once it's all been processed. The other thing to say was there'll be a link for this episode on the podcast if you find yourself either driving or going to the gym and you want something in your ears while you're doing that. Have a listen to this, because I think you'll be quite surprised at some of the stuff that I researched and found out with all this Adobe terms of service stuff. And also, I've got to do it again, haven't I? I've got to do it again. It deserves it, because it's been a long time coming. The printing course, okay? Again, it will be out Friday, the 30th of August, but I will be doing the pre-release coming in from next Friday. So if you're part of my email group, you'll get to know that nice and early, but that price will be the lowest it'll ever be. Sounds like a sales pitch, but somehow you have to explain this stuff and it's going to come across that way. But it's the lowest price it'll ever be, ever. So that's the pre-order price. I've never done a pre-order. I am back next week, 100% back next week with the incredible Russell Preston Brown. Oh my God, I cannot wait to get Russell on. He is so excited to do it. Tons to show you. Russell is, without doubt, he is a character. He really is, but he is possibly the most creative person I know. It's just mind-blowing what this man does. and he's going to be sharing all kinds of stuff. He's going to be focusing in on his mobile photography and how he's using it for some incredible photo shoots, but also using it with lights, triggering strobes. He uses Pro Photo, showing how he uses those, but also going through some of the retouching process as well, which will just be, if I know him as I know him, my God, it's going to be mind-blowing. So that is something to look forward to next week. But I'm going to finish off now by playing Nigel's promo. Why not? Let's see more of some of these beautiful images. So I will see you same time, same place, 7 p.m. UK next week, next Sunday for Russell Preston Brown. Thank you so much from me and from Nigel for joining us. What a live this has been. Incredible, incredible photography and an incredible man. So I'll see you next week.